Today we are going to talk about the exciting journey from our VPN base and into the more modern SSE ways of accessing the network and accessing specific applications in the network based on the entitlements of customers. Essentially, what our solution entitles is you can have your key, that means get your SSE accesses while running some applications on VPN and easily migrating those applications from VPN to SSE. So it's truly about having your cake and eating it too. So this is a little bit about myself. So before we start, let's just get into what are the key takeaways of this entire session will be. Right? So what you'll learn in this is first, what are the market forces that are transforming this entire VPN into the secure services edge. VPN has been, as a market, VPN has been there for last 20 years. But what is changing right now in the market, in the threat landscape, that is really forcing people to make a change from the VPN to the zero trust. Secondly, understand our vision as well as the migration strategy into the comprehensive zero trust architecture. Third is, again, right, our view into our secure services edge solution. Fourth is, anytime you talk about the zero trust, it's all about how many risks do you understand and what do you do about the risk. And this is where we have very, very comprehensive analysis of risk signals. We look at pretty much all 360 degrees to understand various risks that are coming into the network, and we act on it. And last but not the least, how do we run a hybrid network that includes existing VPN, but while you have that existing VPN, at your own speed and at your own time, how do you migrate into the ZTNA, SWIG, and CASB, all with a unified client? Right? And we will do a lot of this. I will show you the real demo. So before we get into the actual demo, let's first start the context. What are we trying to solve, or what a typical network or application admin is facing today? So what people are facing today is they are a tornado. They're inside a tornado. The first one is the cyber risk, and all the events are growing exponentially, as Sri described, and pretty much open the page of your paper and you know this. But a lot of times, as a VPN or as a network, anytime network is a first attack vector, right? Because people use network to get into your systems. And this is where, when it comes to preventing those attacks, network has the biggest responsibility to stop those attacks. Number one. Number two, the network of the previous days is not there anymore. People are migrating applications from the data center, from the private data centers, into the public clouds, or to the SaaS, or even to the internet. So your network is now extremely amorphous, right? And now you have to guard against all these attacks on a very amorphous deployment. A lot of times, let's face it, a lot of times people simply do not know what applications are running on their network and who's using those applications. This is a pretty much unknown entity for people, and we are helping them to understand that first so that they can migrate, take the subsequent steps. Then similarly, right, even if you know what people are doing, we don't know how people are accessing the data. Right? So what if somebody is inadvertently, or sometimes even maliciously, stealing data? How do you stop that? Right? That's an important part, especially as you go into the internet and SaaS applications, where now the data is sitting somewhere else outside of your perimeter. So doing the DLP and doing data loss prevention is super critical there. Right? Then obviously the last one, people are using the applications and the network with their BYOD devices and they're accessing it from everywhere. And obviously, right, a lot of these technologies, you just saw the 5 different technologies kind of coming together. And if you solve this problem in a point manner, then admin is going to be overwhelmed with like, hey, you know what am I looking at? I'm looking at devices here, I'm looking at network here, I'm looking at applications here. How does it all come together? And this is the entire platform type of thing that Sri talked about just now, and how we are going to deliver that. And last but not the least, going to the zero trust architecture, that need is very clear to solve all the issues that we are facing. But really, customers are grappling with how to go to the zero trust architecture. Because let's face it, a lot of vendors who are starting new with this zero trust, they are just coming up with a point product. Hey, use this for zero trust. Don't worry about VPN. And we want to be that vendor who solves that entire gamut of the application access space. So what is the network security mission? Right? It's a simple mission, is to simplify the migration from VPN to the comprehensive secure services edge solution for your on-prem as well as your cloud apps. Because we believe that the customers will have hybrid deployments for multiple years, or even migration from VPN to ZTA needs to happen as the customers at their customer space, not the vendor space. And so what are we really looking for? Right? In 2 words, give you a much better secure solution that stands the demands of today's cybersecurity environment, where the nation states are attacking your infrastructure. Right? That's number 1. And number 2, as the customer and the data migrates from your private applications or the private cloud to the infrastructure as a service, public cloud, or SaaS or the internet. So these are the 2 biggest trends that we have a solution for. So let's take a look at a network, right? In a network, there are users who are using devices who use the network from those devices to access the applications. So if you look at how the transition has been, so just taking example of, you have a laptop or a mobile, you had a VPN client, and you use the VPN client to access all the private applications, whether applications were on-prem or they were on the private infrastructure as a service SaaS cloud. Very simple. You had these VPN gateways into either on-prem or on the SaaS apps. This is how majority of our deployments used to be, or even almost everybody still has this, even as they are migrating to ZTA. Now, what does ZTA bring you? So now, for the same private apps, rather than giving a network access, the new ZTA paradigm talks about giving specific application level access, and that access and the user and the devices are enrolled and continuously monitored from the cloud. And so if you find any fishiness going on there, you can take real-time control. Now, as the applications go into the SaaS cloud, there is a component called Cloud Access Security Broker, CASB. That we have partnered with a company called Lookout. And that company provides us the CASB as well as the SWIG solution to protect against the SaaS apps and the internet apps. But we have done multiple integrations. We have done the integrations at the controller level, where we understand exactly what applications configs and the controls are. If somebody wants to go into a private app versus the SaaS apps, these 2 controllers talk to each other constantly, and the controller also understand the device posture. Second most critical thing, right? We have done integration at the client level. What that means is if a particular user is using private applications, the data from this user goes directly into, say, this VPN gateway or the NZTA gateway, wherever the application resides. Or if the application is on the SaaS cloud, the client sends the data directly to the CASB or SWIG, wherever it's required. So what you will notice here, that there is a right and the most right mix of the POP architecture, where there is a SWIG and CASB are located in a point of presence, POP, as well as the SDP architecture, because what we want to deliver is really the best overall end user experience, right? So this is not about one architecture or the other. What matters is the best security, the best migration, and the best end user experience. So now this is where, what is the difference between the Zero Trust and VPN? Let's look at some of the capabilities of the Zero Trust, which are super important. The way we call it, these are 7 steps towards the Zero Trust. So the first one is obviously enrolling the user, enrolling the device, right? So VPN used to just do simple user authentication. Now, for the ZTA, we make sure that your device is known and has the right posture before you can even connect to the network. And the device always talks to the controller, right? So that's step number 1. Second one is authenticating the user. Obviously, this is something that VPN did. All different types of single, like all the multi-factor authentication is kind of part of the, it's par for the course, if you will. The third one is obviously securing the network. This is where we need to use the best ciphers, the best technologies like TLS 1.3, and to give you the best network performance, network security network. This is the big difference. The VPN allowed network connectivity. Now what you're allowing is specific app connectivity based on the user entitlement. So this is different. The second one, as I said, the stop loss of data, specifically for very, very critical for the internet and SaaS, because even if somebody has access to data, they should not be able to misuse that, right? So, hey, I'm in HR, I can access the social security numbers, but don't download those, don't use it, don't sell those somewhere else. How do you stop all of that, right? So that's entire the DLP and stop data loss value prop. All of this is monitored in real time and controlled in real time. So we will show the demonstration. If a device posture goes out of compliance, we stop it at that point and take remedial action in real time. Okay? So essentially, this is that entire continuous and adaptive enforcement to make sure that we never blindly trust, right? We are always verifying, and if anything goes wrong, we have multiple actions that the admins can define to make sure that the networks and their applications are always correct. Now, as I said, right, going towards Zero Trust, you really have to know what risk are getting into your network and the applications. And what do we protect against? The simplest one, the first one, as I said, the device posture. We do the continuous host checking, and then the policies, the granular policies, which define that, hey, if your device posture is X, you cannot access specific application, right? So if the device posture is not best, I can probably use email, but not my HR application, right? So that's step number 1. The second one, which is very unique, is the device software bomb, right? So we essentially scan the software that is running on your device and ask our controller, hey, is there anything, is there any library, old library with any vulnerability running into this code, into this device? And say for example, if you find something, an application running on your device that has that famous log4j, how can you stop that user from either connecting or connecting to specific applications? Right. So understanding that software bomb is a big differentiator for us compared to the rest of the industry. Then user behavior is pretty obvious, right? I mean, what is my history? What is the user location history? Timing history? Is there something fishy going on? Right? So that's the entire UEBA control. User data access, this is again, right, important to understand that nobody is misusing the data, right? Or either inadvertently or maliciously, but you can understand the data accesses and take control of it and take block application accesses. Then even the SaaS applications, right? You go to salesforce.com, there are 60 different SaaS applications. And you may decide each of them has different level of security. So you can granularly decide that, hey, I want this SaaS apps, but not this SaaS apps for a particular user. Right? So that's the level of control that we have. And then for this, like understanding what are the users, what are the top domains that your users are accessing, what is allowed, what is not allowed. And more critically, controlling all of that in a very granular manner. And when I say granular, you can control individual application, individual website for an individual user. Right? So this is that entire 360 understanding of the users. And all of this can be accessed from one single client. Right? So this is all from one single client. So if you look at it, right, really you're accessing 4 different services, whether it's VPN or ZTA or CASB or SWIG, but all of that can be accessed from one trusted unified client that's today deployed in more than 20 million user endpoints. So what does that mean really, right? We are, if you were doing multiple point products for all these 4 different applications, essentially you need like multiple clients, staff to understand every application. If something goes wrong, and especially on the client side, there's going to be finger pointing different between applications. So for that, just use one application, one vendor where we take care of all your needs. And what makes us unique is we do not offer only ZTNA or CASB or the SWIG solution. We take care of the from, which is typically a VPN, and a to, which is typically this entire SSE architecture. Lot of new vendors, they say, don't worry about VPN, right? But when you talk about the security, you have to manage your entire portfolio, not just a part of it. And then I will talk a little bit about what that migration looks like for our diverse install base. Right? And this is also what you'll see. There are lots and lots of options that we are given. The first one is, right, as I described, is go all in that, hey, this is where there is a sign up for a secure access as a service, where VPN analytics as a service. Right, so here you are still using VPN in its current form, but you're just registered your gateways with the cloud controller. And now suddenly you start to see all the analytics and automation with this controller. And last but not the least, right, if there are certain customers where, hey, they don't even want to use any type of cloud. So even for them, the first step to security is modernize your entire software stack. And our last product was launched in 2016. Now we have done a complete refresh absolutely from top to bottom, right? And that refresh includes the new kernel, the new OS. Every package of the OS is now modern, and SE Linux. Sometimes and this is super important, right? Or even the protocols like TLS 1.3. And making sure that the entire stack is taken care is super important, because we might write a whole bunch of applications in the user level, but what if there is a vulnerability at the kernel? We need to be on the latest and greatest kernel to make sure that it is modern, and it is modern and it is secure compared to anything that was done 5 years back. Okay? So these are the different options. And even commercially, we have a very interesting offer where we offer, pretty much think about this as all you can eat buffet, right? Where you can run VPN as well as ZTA under one license, right? And in that license, say you get to upgrade this whole from PSA to ISA. In this particular license, the virtual gateways are free. The licensing is very simple, right? You don't need to worry about all the complicated license servers and all. Right? Then you get visibility into all your VPN applications to start with. And and when you feel ready, you can easily migrate to the zero trust at your own pace. Okay. So now I'm going to stop the presentation for a minute, and I'm going to actually show the real live network demo. So the first one I will show, and again, right, this is where I am connected. This is a real live network where our users, I am connected to the network. As you can see, this is our secure access client, which is deployed into millions of users. So again, right, typically people used to connect to the gateway, and this is, say, a location of the gateway. But now you are not connecting to the location of the gateway. You are just connecting to the ZTA as a service, right? And the ZTA as a service is connected. It meets all the compliance policies, right? And what it shows me, most importantly, right? Again, right? So now 2 applications running with one client. What it shows me is a menu of applications that I'm allowed to use, right? So for example, in my network, these are the typical applications that I am allowed to use for my job role, right? As you can imagine, like Confluence, Jira. And so, as you can see, right, now I'm having access to the particular application and not the entire network. All right, so now let me go into the actual controller. Right? As you can see, this is a VPN view. Now on VPN, on my network right now, there are 91 active users. There are 238 devices. And this is the most important part. There are users with these different roles accessing all different types of devices, like all the way from Windows to different types of Mac, using multiple gateways and accessing various applications. Right? So this is the type of visibility that we are giving for a VPN application. And most importantly, right, as you can see, our definition of application is not only URL or HTTP based applications. You can look at any IP address and port becomes our application, right? So at the top, this is a view of, hey, what applications are on my network? What are the active gateways? What are the different device types? Where are the device locations? Right? As you can see, a lot of our engineering is in India and most of it in Bangalore, and people are connected to the network like this. What is the device session type, as well as the non-compliances? Right? So this is the top view. I'll show you something very, very interesting, that once you know the top view, once you know what the applications are there on your network, there's a very interesting button called Migrate to ZTA. Right? First of all, right, you'll see different types of applications, and there is a very interesting button, Migrate to ZTA. When you click that, you just choose whatever application you may want to migrate to ZTA and create a ZTA policy around it. So you just say, hey, this is my applications. These are the device policies. This is the user group. This is where the application is located. And that's it. You migrate an application from VPN to ZTA and completely secure everything. Right? So as you can see, from VPN to the ZTA migration happened with a single click and single simple workflow. I'll show you, hey, what are some of the active applications that are running, right? And I'll show myself. Well, let's just show. See, it shows I am connected from Fremont. I'm in California Bay Area using Windows device. And this is the last application I used, right? So this is a super detailed device view, session view. Now going even more interesting, you know about every device. You know about every device, what type of device somebody is using, what type of OS do they have, where are they coming from, what type of device, and even the risk level. We talked about the software bomb, right? So this particular gentleman is running a Windows 10, which is not completely patched. Right? So this is the level of understanding that you have. Okay. So now going back into like just to summarize it, right? Just a quick summary walkthrough. Right? We talked about capabilities of Zero Trust. These are the 7 capabilities, if you will. The first capability is about, hey, enroll the device, authenticate the user, and secure the network with modern stack. Right? This is what it looks like. One common, the device enrollment. Right? It is connected simultaneously to 2 services, VPN service as well as the ZTA service. And it's a trusted client for easy migration. Number 2, as I said, I'm not connecting to a gateway in a location. I'm connecting to a service. And last but not the least, right, we talked about device enrollment. This is where the application or this particular device is connected and the device posture is authenticated. Right? That's the step number 1. And for an end user, that single client is super important, right? Because I know most of the people on this particular call would be admins. So for us, all of us need to give a best experience to our end users who are the corporate users. Right? So for them, they're just using this one application that they know for ages for using all applications, right? For securing all applications. The second part is connect to the applications. Right? So this is where you're not connecting to network, you are connecting to the applications, right? And as I showed, I connected to the Ivanti Confluence as my last application. And as an admin, you could see, hey, what does the application access as Sachin did? And if I was doing something fishy, you would know immediately. And you can stop immediately. And again, right, this is application only access, not network access. The second part talked about DLP. It's not part of this demo, but we will show it tomorrow. But if somebody is looking at data, the file that they are not supposed to upload or download, they will get a message like this, right? Saying, hey, I'm allowing you to access this data, but give me a justification for this. And there are different ways of access, right? This is the simplest one where you are allowing some data download and just asking for justification. But if you want to completely block it, you can block it too. If you want to like obfuscate the sensitive fields, you can do that too. Right? So there are multiple options available here. Then the last piece, the continuous monitoring of the network, the devices, the user behavior, and taking real-time actions. Right? These are what we talked about. At the top, the first screen that we saw was an executive view of, hey, how many gateways do you have? How many users do you have? How many devices you have? And that entire view at a glance. And then the second one is the view of the application. As I said, the user role, device, gateways, and the entire application. Then we went into the detailed view of the application, right? And this is an important thing. An application, who's using it, where is it using from, what type of user role that application, that user has, what is the device they are using it from, and where is the gateway, right? So this is an unprecedented view into your infrastructure, right? The first, knowing this is super important before you do anything else. And then last but not the least, as I just wanted to find out, the entire industry thinks ZTNA is only for the web applications. We offer application support ZTA for any type of applications. All that has to be is simple IP address and a port. And then last but not the least, right? It's all about migration. So this is that easy button. You know the applications, where they are coming from, what are the type of applications, HTTP, UDP, TCP, and a simple migrate to ZTA button, and it takes you from VPN to ZTA. So thank you very much for your time. This is the summary what you just saw. What you saw is not only the need why somebody wants to migrate from VPN to ZTA or to migrate to SSE, but how easy it is with our solution. Thank you very much.